This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to this series with the toppers of batch of 2021. And I think I have been getting a lot of questions from students. Sir, what to do in this section? I'm not able to manage time. When do I start taking mocks? How many mocks to take? How did others prepare that they scored really well? How were they able to manage the time? So I think a lot of students were also wanting to interact with last year students who really scored exceptionally high. And that's when we guys connected, and thank you for all these students to spare time for this session on a Sunday afternoon. And yeah, the agenda for this session will be that we'll just start with a brief introduction by all these students who were the last batch student, and they performed really well, and most of them will be joining a B school this year, and they can very quickly touch base upon their profile, because a lot of questions are very curious. Sir, I'm a gem, do I really stand a chance to get a call from good B school? So if you can very quickly talk about your 10, 12 percentage graduation profile and score, and which college will you be joining if at all, and then we can go section by section. We can talk about your forte, how did you guys prepare, etc., etc. Right? Over to you guys. Yeah, maybe we can start with Kiran.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Kiran. I'm a fresher from IIT Guwahati. I'm pursuing finishing my mechanical engineering degree. In 10th, I was in CBSE, got full A1s, and in 12th, I got like 98%. And my sectional scores are around, overall is 99.87. And I'm pretty good at RC, specifically in VARCs, and for quant I'm also pretty good. Initially, my major struggle was LRDIs, which I was able to cope up a bit. That's about it.
Good. So we'll come back on with Kiran to sort of detail his strategy and to answer any questions the audience has. Next, we can move on to maybe Saurav.
Hi everyone. So I am a pass out from BTech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Kharagpur in 2019. So I have an experience of over 2 years in the aerospace sector in Eton. Well, I did my 10 and 12 from state board. I have around 88% in state boards in both 10 and 12. So before preparing for CAT21, my major struggle was LRDI. I told that on the very first day to Shubham sir that this is my Achilles heel. I don't have as such problems in QA. I needed to practice although. So yeah, I think I improved a lot in LRDI. Maybe could have done better, but okay. I have an overall percentile of 99.63 in CAT21. So let's discuss and let's clear if you have any doubts.
Great. Thank you, Saurav. Next, let's move on to Utsav.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I did my graduation from BITS Pilani campus, and I'm a dual degree student, so masters in physics and bachelor's in civil engineering. And 10th, again, CBSE board 10th and 12th, 10 CGPA in 10th grade. And in 12th, I got 96%. And my CAT overall percentile is 99.65. And yeah, as with both of Kiran and Saurav, my struggle was LRDI. And VARC is something I feel like I was comfortable with to begin with. And that really helped. So yeah, I played to my strengths, as I'm sure we'll discuss later. But yeah, that's it about me.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Utsav. Next, Shivam.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Shivam here. I completed my BTech from MIT Manipal in 2020. My grads are 9.8 CGPA in 10th, 91.4 in 12th, and 84.8 percentage in grad. Also, I scored a 99.65 percentile, and I'm thinking like I've like confused between two colleges as of now, Excel and I'm Lucknow. So my strengths are VRC. That's it. I was doing okay in QA, couldn't perform well. on the BA, and LRDI was always an issue for me. For past 2 years now, I gave CAT twice, so yeah, LRDI was an issue. Still managed to score 96, 97 percentile in LRDI. So that's a quick introduction about myself.
Okay, Shivam, can you also touch base on the last to last year performance of CAT?
Yeah, last to last year I got a 98.15 percentile with a 57 percentile in LRDI.
Okay.
So both in Q and VRC I got around 99 plus, but in LRDI I got a 57 percentile. So yeah, because of that I had to anyway thought that only 1 year of experience, so let me give it let me give it again. So
Okay. So I think then in the last attempt you managed to jump from 57 to 96. That's really commendable. Nice.
It's just one set.
I know.
Not,
yeah.
it seems like a lot, but it's not. Like I couldn't solve one of the sets. I couldn't crack another set in my first attempt, and if you just do 2 sets, like you'll be through.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Shivam. Next, let's move on to the ladies. Priyanshi.
Yeah, hi. So I completed my undergraduation in pharmacy from BITS Pilani campus, and in 10th standard I had a 10 CGPA, and in 12th I scored around 82.6% in state board, and I have around 20 months of work experience. I was comfortable with VARC and QA as well. So I scored an overall percentile of 99.91, and I was able to convert most of my codes.
Great.
So I'll be joining and Calcutta this.
Good. So by the way, students, this is that girl whose poster you keep on seeing once you visit the website. Priyanshi Jain, who scored the highest from our last batch. With Priyanshi, I'll come back to you later on. Last is Divya.
Yes, I have completed my undergraduate in civil engineering from IIT Gandhinagar. And speaking of 10th, I have 95.45 in 10th. It's in Maharashtra State Board. And in 12th, I have 91%. And I have 21 months of experience as a structural engineer. And talking of CAT, this was my 4th attempt, and still it was a disaster in VARC. But I managed a good percentile in that, and I converted accelerate.
Yeah, so I think for all the students who have a higher years of work experience, Divya should be the source of motivation for all the students. And having said that, like a lot of students also get really nervous after having a bad CAT. But I think that's where you will hear from Divya that how even after not being able to perform till her level in CAT, she really put her things together and performed really well in Z. And finally, she'll be joining Lrti. Good. Do we have anyone else? Shrikar or Himank here? Okay. So I think thank you everyone for a very quick introduction. Next, I think let's at least start with how did you prepare, as in when you guys started? First of all, when did you guys start? And why did you think that, okay, CAT is what you really wanted to do? And how did you start? How things were faring up in the first 1, 2, 3 months? How your preparation was during the last 2, 3 months? And how did you just put all the things together? What was your plan? Were you focusing only on the mocks, or were you also focusing on lectures, assignments, etc., etc.? How did peer group help you? How did the free practice sessions that has been happening? Were you sort of regular? So let's listen to individual stories, and then I think we can talk about sections, individual sections. So yeah, I leave that on you guys. You can sort of volunteer and start.
I can start.
Yes,
that's okay with everyone. So yeah, I think starting with CAT prep, for me at least, I always try to keep things simple. So it was always about the entire prep journey for me was at least about identifying weak areas, playing to my strengths. So as I said, if I know I am strong in VARC, then I made it a point to maximize my attempts, to give that section some time so that I know that I can increase my score there. So my entire prep journey, like be it any sort of assignment, any sort of workshop, or any sort of test series, any sort of mock test I'm taking, it was always focused on whatever I do, I need to analyze that first of all. And after analyzing it, I need to like carry over my learnings, because like it doesn't make sense for you to, if you identified a mistake, you should, not forget about it. You should, next test series, if you see the same type of question, you should be like, okay, I saw this question, I got it wrong. What can I do differently now? So I think that was my main so to say, like broad funda, like whatever I was doing, assignment, I was doing a workshop, I was participating in on one of the marathon sessions on the PrepZone page, or like anything of that sort. That was my main funda. And just briefly talking about my sectional strategy. So VARC, as I said, so I didn't, something that helped me was a reading habit, which I've had since a very early age. But even then, like academic reading is different. So the passages you get in CAT, they might be an article, they might be like a scientific passage, there might be some research papers, something like that. So academic reading is different than say any fiction reading or anything of that sort you've done. So it would be good to at least, just for like general, not for like reading purpose, like CAT purposes, just generally get, knowledgeable about like what's happening. So like read articles, focus on like, reading long text, reading texts which are rich with information. And that would help you in latter stages of your CAT journey as well. Like GDPI, for example, that is something that would help. So that helped me for VARC. Quant, again, I knew my strengths in quant. I knew, okay, this topic, agar kuch question aayega, I should definitely attempt it. And ye topic hai, maybe I should come back to it later. So that helped me to identify, see, these are my strengths. So if I see this question in the paper, to ye to mujhe karna hi hai. So the first step to that is ki whenever you see the question paper, ek baar dekho ki kya hai, and identify ki dekho ye karna hai. These are marks for me. So this is what helped me in quant. Even though in CAT 2021, I wouldn't say my quant attempts were very high, but I was still able to get a decent percentile. I was able to get 99.73 sectional wins. So that helped. LRDI, I'm sure I'm not the best person to speak about LRDI here, but like, anyways, for me, it's all about practice. So the sessions which are posted on the PrepZone group, the sectionals which you get in whatever test series you buy, even the mocks, I think it's really important to, understand ki kya ho raha hai question mein, identify straight away ki this question hai. Like maybe it's a missing information question, maybe it's like a decipher wala question, something of that sort. Understand that. And yeah, overall, just focus on your strengths, keep building up on your, keep strengthening your weaknesses, and regular practice ke sath, I think you'll be in good shape well before like the D-Day. Like I think month and a half before, you should feel like, okay, I'm in a good state right now. So that was my mindset.
So one question from you, like what was your lowest score in mock?
My lowest score in mock, so there have been many. Like I think I've discussed with my fellow, we had a group of people who used to score a certain mark, who used to cross a certain number of marks in mocks. So I think like 220 mark wale paper mein, like 70s में भी आया होगा यार, 80s 70s में भी आया होगा. And बहुत time मतलब, but regularly I try to at least keep it to a respectable score. But like, see, I would be lying if I said that everything was perfect. Okay, I would be lying if I said that every mock I gave was perfect, every sectional I attempted. VARC also, there's been times ki VARC, which I thought was my strongest section, maybe I didn't score as well. So that would not be the true story if I say ki sab kuch acha ja raha tha. It's not that. But the main thing is that if something goes wrong, if you struggle badly in the mock, if your percentile is like nowhere near your friends or whoever, so if that is not it, then like that's what, you shouldn't get disheartened, because in the end it's not about one mock test or two mock tests or 10 mock tests. It's really about when is the point that you understand what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. So I allowed myself some time to improve, and I think that's really important. And yeah, that's about to keep my performances in mocks. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, thanks Utsav. Anyone else wants to join what Utsav said or has a different point of opinion?
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, Kiran.
Okay, when I started my journey, the first quant marathon class I joined, Okay, you know, in marathon classes, they give a question and they give you like 2 to 3 minutes to solve the question. I could not do it. Like 2 minutes pass, 3 minutes pass. I'm like nowhere near the end. So what I realized that I'm way too slow. So the best thing that I did, okay, mocks are one thing, and the second thing, whenever you practice quant questions or previous year mock questions, always time it. You have to see how long are you taking for each question. Like maybe you'll take 3 minutes or 2 minutes, that's fine. But sometimes it'll exceed around 6 to 7 minutes. Either that question is really tough and you should leave it, or there is something wrong with how you're approaching that question and you have to learn that new approach. Learning these approaches are how you are able to like completely finish a quant section or get like 20 like 26 27 mock attempts. When I'm like starting my first mock, like if it has like 30 quant questions, I was only able to like complete 20 and I couldn't even read the final 10. Eventually by doing this, I could was able to like get like what 27 28 questions. I could attempt these and just leave like 1 or 2. Okay, another thing, you should start practicing mocks. That's the most important thing. When you're starting off, start with one, but eventually you have to get a point where you're doing 2 to 3 mocks every week. Initially it's difficult because there are weeks when I was already able to like, do what one mock like every 2 weeks, because like I'm procrastinating. I'm like, yeah, like I won't do it this week, I'll do it next week. So there's a small trick you can do. You have to keep yourself accountable. What you should do is find someone who cares about you. In my case, it would be friends, your parents. Okay. In my case, I chose my mother. I would tell her, okay, tomorrow I'll give a mock and I'll get this much mark. So it creates a chain of accountability. For the next day, she'll ask me, okay, how much did you get? So in that case, if I did not do the mock, I can't tell her anything. So that kind of forces you to like do the mock. Okay, next, something that two, three.
After CAT.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, Divya, you were saying something. Sorry, go on.
No, sir. Let the CAT people finish. Like I'd have just motivation after CAT.
No, but I'm sure, see, your performance in mocks has been really, really good. So what happens on the D-Day is a different story, but how you perform or how you prepare throughout the journey, that's a different story altogether. But yeah.
So, yes, I have only 3 points to emphasis on. First is, like Shivam sir always says, form small groups. It is very much important. The people keep you moving, like you have someone to ask your smallest and silliest doubts. You can have daily discussions. And trust me, the past mock papers, giving past mock papers and discussing them is the most useful thing you will have. And apart from that, giving mocks and discussing the mocks after your analysis is very important. And the groups not only help in discussion, they also help in keeping you motivated all the time, keeping you fresh all the time. So my advice firstly will be form small groups. They are super useful. second will be, do not keep baggage of the previous mock while giving the the next mock, or also on the D-Day, do not keep baggage of any mock or any attempt you have failed in the previous time. And third will be, do not give up to the last time, to the last end, to the last minute of exam. Do not give up.
Okay, so Divya, I think you were talking about the importance of having a small group, but I think one challenge that your batch also felt was groups to ban jate, but then no one is active. People keep on chasing, yeah, let's discuss, but it's not happening, and that's the same challenge which this batch is also facing. So how do you sort of cope up with that?
So actually, I was very lucky that I have got a active group. The group was formed by like-minded people. We used to text each other कि कोई group में add होना है क्या, and then we formed a group of 4 to 5 people. So we 4 to 5 people were very active. So a group formation maybe you can find 2 or 3 like-minded people and then group up together. So there are high chances that you have that every day everyone will be joining, and the main point is pick some people who are expert in the area where you are weak in, so it helps a lot.
Okay, and what exactly used to happen in this group? How did you used to pitch it?
Yes. Honestly, in our group, we used to divide the MCATs, like past year MCATs. We used to, we had a Excel sheet in which we had named the date and what we are going to solve. So some people in our group were working. So we had just the MCAT name and VARC. So we will be discussing VARC today, LRDI today, QA today. So we divided the MCATs and the previous year's MCATs in such format, and we used to discuss that, and the ongoing MCATs and SIMCATs. So we used to analyze it and then discuss. We didn't used to compare our scores. It was prohibited in our group actually. But just we used to share one person's screen, and we used to discuss what question and what approach did one use. And apart from the solution given in the mocks, we used to discuss how we can do it shortly.
Nice. I think that's extremely useful. But Divya, you mentioned that you used to discuss past year MCATs for VARC or LRDI, right? So, but there everyone used to come prepared, right? Everyone must have solved the MCAT, only then these discussions would make
sense. Yes. Right. We used to make sure that everyone has solved it. If not, we used to postpone the discussion to other day.
Okay. Thank you, Divya. So this, I'll request all the batch of 2022 students to note down and start doing it. Form mini groups of 4 to 5 students, and this is the most important thing. Next, I'll invite maybe Priyanshi, Saurav, Shivam, and others to add on.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So my first mock was actually the last year CAT exam. So, you have to first give a mock, and then you have to see what are your weak subjects or strong subjects. So I realized that VARC was fine. I did well in VARC, and QA. And QA, actually, I had lost the flow because I was a pharmacy student. So 4 saal se QA nahi padha tha, kuch bhi. So, but I knew that I had a basic understanding of, jo aata hai isme, there's nothing new. You've already studied before. So I went through that basics par liye khud se, and then I used to post my doubts in the PrepZone jo open with the WhatsApp ka. That was really helpful. So I posted. I used to post all of my doubts over there, and then I found really amazing people. Jahan pe I think mera QA ka jo best learning tha came from there only. So काफी सारे sections I was weak. So I got to know new concepts and then shortcuts. So जो भी वहाँ काफी कुछ, I think that was the major मतलब जहाँ से major learning आया था QA का was from there. So I would say कि post your doubts in the open forums, because a lot of people will give a lot of different ways to solve. You will get to know new concepts as well. So I think वो best part था. And then TILR is most about practice. So yeah, so Shivam sir had formed our groups, but we weren't active. But then what happened was we got in touch with 1 or 2 people, because sab log nahi active reh pate, and then you work according to your timings. Sometimes you solve papers and the others won't do, and then nahi ho pata discussion. But then what happened eventually was we got in touch with 2 or 3 people. So wahan pe we used to post our doubts then, or jo bhi kya karna hai, or used to know about काफी सारे वेबसाइट्स है जहाँ से सीख सकते हैं एवरीथिंग, तो वो भी काफी ज्यादा हेल्पफुल था. And then एक और चीज, CAT is about practice, but also about keeping yourself motivated throughout, because it's a long journey. So there were times when I used to score, 60, 70s and marks aa gaye the beech mein, and I was really, really demotivated ki what just happened. So Shubham sir initially bol diya tha ki you should make an Excel of all your marks to gauge your performance. तो वो बनाया था, but then I never posted my bad marks over there because that tracker was kind of motivation to me. Ki, so I never posted I just stick my mind. I never posted my bad marks over there. But so what you should do is take your mock seriously, but not the results very, very seriously. So I think that is also a very important part. So eventually, it's just about practice and more practice, and you will do it. So just that's it from my side.
Priyanshu, can you also talk about especially your quant and verbal journey? Verbal, you have been stellar since day one and you performed really well. Quant, I think that improved a lot over time. So what used to be your initial scores? I think we used to discuss that your attempts are getting too low and accuracy is also suffering. So what extra did you do? Which topics did you focus more on so that you finally bagged a decent score in quant as well?
So quant mein actually I was very slow. Initially, when last year CAT diya tha, I just saw I think 10 questions and even lesser. I think I was tired by the end of the exam. So but I practiced a lot that I was okay with all of the course of the CAT. Sare subjects, sare topics अच्छे से कर रहे थे. And then of course I think I used to solve everything I could find on the internet, जो भी material था, which was shared in the open groups. So I think it's just about practice. Quant is actually about practice and getting to know कि कैसे easy जल्दी solve करना है, fast कैसे करना है, new concepts. And then advanced sessions also होते थे. That was also confidence boosted to me. I was very active in all the advanced workshops जो भी हुए थे quant के. So I think it's just about practice. Honestly, it's only practice. If you're weaker in that section, so it's just practice. And VARC mein, I actually read a lot of books. I had the several reading books earlier, but छूट गया था बीच में. And then in the 4th year, I started reading again because 4th year you have nothing to do with the college. And then lockdown happened, so I read a lot of big books. So I had a good reading speed. I used to attend. I used to solve pura paper VARC का जो भी आता था. And then over the time, my accuracy also improved. So I had an edge key. I would solve all the papers. So and it wasn't like I took I would read all of it and then attempt all of it. Uske baad, over the time with practice, my accuracy also improved. And VARC is also about concentration. Jitna the concentration hoga, you solve, correct questions. So I never missed out on my sleep before the CAT exam or even before the mocks. So I think concentration, practice, and then reading books or you can read, newspapers as well, which will help you later on.
Okay. Thanks. Priyanshu, Saurabh, Shivam, and Demang.
Yeah, I can. Shubham. So I will share specifically my LRDI journey. So I started a bit late for CAT prep. I joined, I think, the last batch in PrepZone. So first of all, what I started was sir used to post certain like sets in Facebook or let's say in our groups every day in the closed groups that we have. And I used to solve, and not only solve, I used to write the time as well, and sir would comment after that if it is at par or if it like I am taking too much time. So as someone was saying earlier also that not only solving, you need to keep a track of the time, and whatever happens every day, like I used to make sure that I solve at least one set for RC at least every day. So this I got a bit better, taking lesser time to solve the sets as time went on. Now I started giving mocks from the very beginning only, although I didn't score that much good marks in the beginning. Now as I progressed through the mocks, I analyzed, I came up with certain strategies. So I would speak about LRDI specifically. So you need to have a very well-defined strategy for LRDI. Spend the first 4-5 and making a decision like what you can attempt, which is the easier set, because some set will be very easy and that would be hidden somewhere in the middle of the question paper. So attempt that first, gain some confidence, and go on to the tougher sets. That I would recommend. And for quant was my strength section. Had I couldn't really, I scored around 99.1 percentile in quant, but I could have done better. Quant, there's lots of practice. Like you don't need to worry about quant at all. I think sir used to post questions as a fatafat in WhatsApp group, 6, 7 questions, 10 questions. So, and he would give time like jaldi attempt karo. And also the advanced workshops, the live workshops, as Kiran was saying, that there used to be questions we have to solve them within 2 to 3 minutes. There also we got to solve very good approaches. And at the end, I think there were these sets of questions like 20-25 comments in one thread. And even if I had a backlog, I used to solve them. So that was really helpful for quant. In VARC, it was not my strength section. Again, not my weak section. It was somewhere in the middle, but that came out to be the least in my performance in CAT21. So as Priyanshi was saying, like you need to concentrate a lot, because VARC, it's just like maths, but you have to read through a different language, not numbers. That's it. But you have to be very mindful about what you're reading, where it's taking a turn, what's the logic the author is trying to convey, because the questions will be exactly on basis on that logic on which the passage has been written. So I used to read editorials from Hindu. I still read. You can try that. That can prove to be helpful.
Yeah, Saurav, I have one question particularly about VRC. Maybe Priyanshi can also chip in to answer this. So we have multiple approaches while we attempt any RCs, right? Either should we read the question first, go to the passage, then come back to the question, or we read the entire passage in 8-10 minutes, sort of understand what the passage says, and then move on to the questions. Or we have a glance at the question, go back to passage, or we go paragraph by paragraph while reading the passage, write down the inference, and then move on to the question. So there are like multiple approaches that are defined on the internet. What is it that you guys experienced and what really worked for you?
Okay, so I went with the strategy to CAT that I would skim through the passages first, like all the passages. I would take nearly 1 minute or 30 seconds, and I would decide like which passage is like more towards my inclination. So I would attempt those passages. Now, the thing is, in CAT, I attempted the RCs and I had a very good accuracy, I would say. But the thing is, I couldn't go to the VA part because I took a bit more time for the RCs. So that's what happened. So maybe instead of skimming through the passages, I mean, you can go like a bit quicker on the VA part as well. So some people do the VA part earlier. If your strength is VA part, you can do it earlier as well. So it's absolutely on your strengths and weakness. You have to play around with it. So yeah, you have to solve it faster as well. So that's one really important point.
Okay.
And
Good.
as for mocks, I would say every week I used to give 2 proctored mocks. One would be for AIMCAT and one SIMCAT, and one unproctored mock. And for every mock, I used to inform Shubham sir about my scores. And not only that, I would ask him how the others have performed, and he would tell me you have performed. Okay, so you have to do that. I think that's pretty helpful because you kind of get the feeling that where you stand among others. So it helps. I think some 10 days before the CAT, the last SIMCAT was deadly difficult for the VRC part. I got very bad in that, and I got really demotivated. I stopped mocks altogether. No mocks before CAT. I just practiced there was and went for CAT. That's it. So don't get demotivated by mocks. I mean, sometimes they are overtly difficult. I mean, for no reason at all. So that's okay. The main thing is to stay motivated, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you, Saurav. Shivam?
Sure. So I think most of the points have already been covered. I will try to just touch upon something which really means a lot to me. So first of all, like you might be hearing a lot of plans, a lot of strategies from different kind of people. So it depends on your personal choice which strategy actually fits you during your mock. Number one. Also, like if you see that you have applied a strategy for 1 or 2 months, it's not like you can't change it. So even like 15 days before CAT, I changed my strategy for VRC. So changing a strategy is part of it because you know that this is something which is going good, but I can still improve upon it. So just keep that in mind. Now I'll go like one by one for each section. VRC, of course, you have to read a lot of variety. Even when you're done with your mocks, so there might be some passages which are extremely difficult, or which especially SimCAT passages for us last year were extremely difficult. Were not able to comprehend. But you need to make sure that even after the mock, you go through the entire passage again, read about all the difficult words that have appeared. So the next time these words appear or something like this appears, you won't be again overwhelmed by the kind of passages that you face. So it's extremely important to, even after you have messed up a mock, but go through that passage again, right? To at least grasp the idea of the whole passage. For LRDI, of course, practice is the only thing that helps. You need to practice variety. So you can. So I think career launches, sectional tests are good. SimCAT sectional tests aren't good because it's very easy. The sectional test of SimCAT. And time is also good. It depends on the difficulty level. So that is something that you need to know. And for every different mocks, for every different sets that you try, you have to keep in mind that 10 to 15 minutes is more than enough, and I need to move out now. That happens only in mocks, but while you're practicing, you need to solve it, right? It's okay to put in more time. QA again is practice and practice. You have to know every trick to solving each question. There might be times where you get the question that you've already solved, so it's a plus for you. And of course, the internal timing for in QA should always keep on running. For each question, you have to be like, you after 1.1 minute 30 seconds or 1 minute max, I need to get out of this question, whatever be the outcome, whether I get the answer or not, but I need to move on. So you need to keep moving on. That's actually what this whole exam is all about, is what I feel.
Great.
So that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shibam. Hemang, do you want to add in something? Hemang and Shrika? Hemang, you're not audible.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Now.
Yeah. So when I started out, my VRC scores were pretty bad. Like they were not improving for like a month or two. But then when I joined PrepZone, and I got to know many people from there, like who were like very great at VRC. Like few people are there in this group as well. So I started asking them like what's their strategy, how they are doing, because I was not very bad at English, but still the marks were very bad. So I started asking like how did they perform. So I asked like 5-6 strategies, tried applying them. Then I got to know like it's very important to read many different articles. So I started going through Aeon, different Hindu, and tried to read those articles like which we are not very good at, like psychology, arts, humanities. Majorly, my reading was not in these particular topics. So I started reading them as well. So that helped me because in CAT, there are not single genre topics. There are like 4 or 5 different genres in which the CAT paper comes from. So once I got a reading habit of them, so there are a few words which comes every time in one genre. So you get habituated to it. So that's the point. Like try reading more and more different articles every day, and like start solving the previous year mocks. So for AIM CATs and SIM CATs, for VRC as well. So that was my source of preparation. And for like LRDI was also LRDI was good, but marks like I couldn't get good marks over there. So what I started with few like LRDI videos which are posted by Shom sir only on his YouTube videos. Like one day he used to post. There I used to like see what is my timing and why I'm going there like bad. Why is my timing so bad over there? and I used to ask different people like what's their strategy while solving this particular question. So whenever I solved the LRDI question, LRDI said, I always used to have a timer. Like if I solve 1 or 2 LRDI sets per day, I always used to have a timer. Even if it was going above 20 minutes, I used to see where are my faults, and I used to add different people for it. So that's like a feedback mechanism. Like you try to do everything each and every day and try to improve upon it. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Himank. Do we have anyone else? Shrikar, are you here? I think Shrikar is not. Okay. So yeah, I think we have talked about the section-wise strategies, what these guys did, what worked for them. It might or it might not work for you guys. But let's move on to the next agenda, which is mocks. I think a lot of people have been talking about when do we start taking mocks? Is it the right time? Do we wait for the syllabus to get over, or should we just start right now? So I think you guys are a better judge, and I think you are more credible than I am because I haven't taken mocks recently. But yeah, you guys can probably comment when did you start taking mocks and how many mocks did you take? Which mocks do you think is better? So I think as Shivam was also talking about that, for sectional time mocks are better versus CRACU. I think we have some great mocks, CRACU, CL, time, IMS. And one thing is, how many mocks should one attempt? Like how many different variants of mocks? Should it be only SimCAT, or should they sort of diversify it? SimCAT, MCAT, SimCAT, MCAT, CRACU, 3, 4, etc. So yeah, over to you guys. Anyone can speak.
I mean, I can start.
Yeah.
For me, I only went with IMS and time. I did not because I knew that when I was talking to people who are working full time and also preparing for CAT when I just started. So this is the feedback I got, that you shouldn't you should give only as many mocks as you can analyze. So like if you can definitely buy many subscriptions of, like, as was mentioned, like there is Career Launcher, there is a bunch of other places, but you should only, like, if you feel like you're giving one mock and it's taking you 10 days to analyze the mock, then maybe you shouldn't give a mock in those, like maybe you shouldn't give 2 mocks in 10 days. So I only went for 2, and my general timeline was that if I give the mock on a Saturday and the results come out on Tuesday, so maybe like by next, at least I've looked at the answer, at least I've looked at my answers and what I have done 2 days after the results have been declared. So that was because what happens is that if you keep putting it off, then there will be a huge backlog, right? And nobody would want that. So like you wouldn't want I gave MCAT, say the first MCAT I gave, but I didn't analyze it, and now it's the third MCAT, so I have to do this and I have to go back to the first MCAT. So you should definitely be very careful, because the point of mocks is it's not a checklist which you have to keep ticking off. It's not like you have 20 MCATs, I have to give 20 MCATs, and after I've given 20 MCATs, that is it, I am done with it's not that. The question is that how many of those MCATs have you analyzed? How many of those MCATs have you actually learned something from? So that is what I focused on. So I would not say that my number of MCATs or SimCATs was on like some very high side, like definitely not. But I can definitely say that whatever MCATs or SimCATs I gave, I analyzed them and I spent a lot of time analyzing them. I spent a lot of time struggling with the questions. Even after something I didn't get in the exam, after the exam, I'm looking at the question, I struggled again. And that was the process, that was the cycle. So yeah, I think for me, the frequency, I guess, depends on you. But a good way to go on about it would be how many mocks can I analyze? How many mocks can I actually look at and be like, okay, this is what I've done wrong. This is what I can learn.
So in total, what was your count before D-Day?
I would say somewhere between 20 to 25, I would say. But I'm confident, I'm sure that all of those mocks, I got some learning from them, like some solid quantifiable learning, which I was able to carry on to my next exams, next mocks, and obviously CAT 2021. And I was able to implement it. So yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, like, sorry, what Utsav said is actually very correct. I mean, I felt that, a mock is wasted if you haven't analyzed it properly. Like if you haven't put in the effort of say at least 7-8 hours combined, depending on what your weak areas are, it's a complete waste of giving that mock basically. So the real learning doesn't come from giving the mock, but rather than analyzing it. That's what I felt, especially during the time period of May, June, and July.
Shivam, can you also talk about how did you used to analyze the mocks?
Oh, exactly. I think analyzing is a very, very, from the looks of it, it seems like a very boring process because you need to go through all the wrong things that you've done in your mocks. And it's, sometimes you feel like, oh my God, this is not me. This shouldn't have happened. But that's it. Like that you will also feel 1 week before the CAT. So you have to be okay with making mistakes. You have to say, okay, it's all right. I was thinking incorrect, but this is how next time I'm going to approach a problem like this. So analyzing is like going after every question individually and spending some time in it and imbibing what exactly was asked. Say if it's a VRC question, so what exactly, how the question is framed, how the options are framed, going through each options, and then picking the answer, and then checking whether you have the answer that you have picked after analysis, is it actually the correct one, right? You need to solve the entire paper again and then see how much you're scoring without any time. So that is your skills, and then you have to match it with whatever the answers are there. So that you have to fulfill that gap basically on the time pressure.
Shivam, when you talk about solving the entire paper again, does it also mean solving the questions that you were able to solve it correctly within say 30 seconds or 40 seconds? Or do we only choose and resolve those questions which either we were not able to solve correctly or we took say 3 minutes on an average, which is way higher than the average time taken per question?
Oh, 3 minutes, so you definitely have to solve again. 30-40 seconds, okay. I mean, there might be some like 2 or 3 questions which are absolutely easy, so you can skip that, of course. But definitely you need to solve the questions which you took more than 2 minutes, in my opinion.
Okay. Cool.
Shubham, sir, like one important point I would like to add here is time and IMS, they provide for each question the time you have taken, and they provide a p-value, I think, what the topper's time is and what the average time, what time you have taken. So that's a very good measure actually to gauge your performance, like how much time you are taking. And adding to what others have said, I like for me, I was working full time, but I had the advantage of working from home. Now you have to figure out exactly when your manager won't check your team status. You have to log off and take out that time for your mocks. That's as simple as that. Like, so you can schedule your mocks. Like for me, it was a couple per week. So one for time and one for IMS. And yeah, the analyzing part is very important, as everyone has mentioned. So maybe for the questions, I would go for the questions that I have not attempted. Let's say I felt that was difficult, or maybe I would take more time to solve. Then I would analyze like why that had happened, or some concepts that I need to know, something like that. And then I would go to the questions I have attempted and they have gone wrong. And then I would come to the questions that I have attempted correctly, and then like I would check the time if I have done that within the good time. So that's how you go for mocks, I would say.
Okay. Thank you, Saurabh. Anyone else wants to add in? Or we can move on to the next question. No? Okay. So I think next question is especially for all the working professionals out here. I think a lot of students have been facing issues in sort of balancing their CAT prep along with the work X. A few have 9 hours, 10 hours, 11, 12 hours of working. So a lot of questions keep on coming. Should we leave the job? We are not able to manage things. So anyone who from the panelists who faced such issues, who had a demanding job, how did you guys manage? What was your schedule? How did you cope up the mocks as well as preparation as well as revision along with the work?
I think Utsav and Hemang could be the right person to answer this question. Like they had hectic work schedule.
Yes.
Especially Utsav.
Well, I would say Hemang more than me. So I would like to hear from Hemang, and then I'll add something if needed.
Hello.
Yes, Hemang.
Yes.
Yeah. So like my work schedule would be around like 9 to 10 hours per day. But the lucky part was we used to work from home. So sometimes between the office, we could get some time, like if we could write a code and it's running. So at that point of time, we could go through like some revision, or we could analyze the mocks or see some videos also, because in VARC you have to see the videos, how they have thought, or how the professor who is like analyzing the mock, how they have solved the question. So you can save time over there. Like that's the best part while working from home. No one is seeing you, so you can save the time. And while obviously if it's solving before office and post office, that's the only time left. That is approximately 6 hours per day. So you have to make the best use of that time to like study. So that's it for like who are working for 9 or 10 hours a day. But yeah, if it starts, like the office starts and the traveling time is also included in that for around 1 or 2 hours, then it will be pretty difficult, and you have to spend most of your time weekend also. So for working professionals who are working from home, we used to get some time off on weekends as well. But now as the office is going to get started, there will be strain on weekends as well from now onwards. That's all.
So Hemang, we have to sort of quantify this. So for example, after working for 10 hours in office, how many hours did you, or were you able to sort of manage for your CAT prep?
So I used to sleep around like 12. So I woke up around like 7:30. Okay. Then after refresh, I used to start studying around 8:30. So my office used to start around post 10 only most of the time. So 1.5 hours I used to study before office. That was my time. And after that 9 to 10 hours of office, the remaining like after 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. sort of like 4 hours. So in that time, you have to study at least 2.5 years. So that's obviously not in the starting, I'm saying, but going in the end. At least you have to devote that much of time. And obviously, I used to take some leaves off where I could study. I could devote much more time over there, because you have to take leaves also. It's not like it's not sufficient time just for the working professional at least.
Okay. So what Hemang is trying to say is that even after having 10 hours of workings, he was sort of able to manage 4 hours, at least around 4 hours in the daily preparation. That's what was the refined schedule of. Okay. Also, want to add on something, or that suffice?
Yeah, so like mostly that. So I think for me it was very difficult to. So I started my work at 1 p.m., 2 p.m. So I worked with the US team. So it was 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. at least, 10, 11 p.m. Like I worked till 12 a.m. also. So I think the thing for me was that I could not, it was very difficult for me to like keep some time apart, like marked on the calendar. Like it was very difficult for me to say, okay, 10 p.m. I will start like analyzing a mock, or I will start giving a mock or something like that. So first of all, yeah, like just touching upon that, try to avoid giving mocks on like weekdays when you have a lot of work, for working professionals at least, because you won't be in your best state of mind, and then it will most probably reflect on your results. So yeah, so like as many people said, it was about figuring out time in the middle of your work schedule. So like if you know that 2 hours after maybe it's not so much work, right? So you can use that time. So it was always about squeezing some time in, and always making do with whatever you have, because most likely you won't get a lot of leaves. It's not like you can say that I'm taking a 2-month sabbatical or something like that, and you wouldn't want to do that, in my opinion. So this is just my opinion, but I feel like CAT is an exam which has been designed keeping in mind that there are working professionals also give the exam. So the amount of prep you can do, like ultimately it's an MBA, right? And ultimately it's for people, it's a career-oriented degree. It's not a compulsion, it's not an acad-oriented degree, it's a career-oriented degree. So you shouldn't completely ignore your career, and it's very doable. For like, you just have to find, it will be stretched. I'm not saying it will be very like very nice and very happy, but you need to take out some time. Weekends you need to utilize very well, like get an early start on weekends, start in the morning, start in like 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever works for you. Weekends extract as much as you can, and weekdays, wherever you get the time, try to squeeze some work in. Like, it will really help. That's what helps work for me.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Utsav. Let's move on to the next question. So I think one question was, okay, my entire syllabus is done. Say, for example, we are sitting in the month of September or October. Now comes the major question. We have done a lot in the last 3-4 months. So how do I revise things? There is a lot of things to be revised. A lot of times it used to happen. We have done arithmetic. It's been 2 months. I'm sitting in the CAT. I know, yeah, okay, this was taught to me back in the arithmetic classes, but I can't really figure out. So how did you guys used to revise? Did you have a planned schedule, or was it haphazard, or was it only in the end, or was it every week, or so on and so forth? When did you revise, and also what did you revise? Like, for example, in LRDI, what was it that you guys needed to revise? Or in VARC, was there anything to be revised, or is it only for pointer? Anyone can take this question?
Yeah. So I think in VARC there is nothing to revise as such. Like I said, the only thing that you can do in VARC is after every mock, the passage that is there, which you don't understand, or the questions which you don't understand, you need to put in some dedicated time as to what this passage is all about, what these words actually mean. So, for example, you need communism, or what is socialism. So these words, if you start, it's all the so you need to know what these words actually mean. So it's going to help you the next time you see these words in a passage. So there is nothing that is needed to be revised, but you need to keep track of every word that comes in, right? For DIR, of course, there are some very good sets which you should keep, as a screenshot, or you can take a screenshot on if you're studying on laptop, and save it on your revise later list. And say after a month or so, you can go through those sets again, just like, and you can, in your head, you can say that this is the steps that needs to be followed, or maybe put pen on paper and solve it as well. And for QA, of course, there are some very good questions from each topic. I think QA is the only subject that has got a defined syllabus. Both VRC and LRDI is logical reasoning and verbal ability. So there is no syllabus in those. So QA, once your syllabus is done, you need to put in all the good questions of a particular topic, apart from the formulas and the shortcuts which are given to you guys. And mind it that Shubham sir gives a lot of shortcuts, especially in QA. So that is something which is helpful. But along with those shortcuts, you need to also save those questions. So this is a quick guide as to how to navigate.
Okay.
Yes, in continuation to Shivam, I also kept some LRDI sets aside, taking a screenshot, and also I made some running notes of the QA sessions and also the advanced sessions also, because the recording was not available. So I used to keep the running notes and some good questions for revision, and I used to revise weekly for QA. So it was very helpful.
Okay, thank you, Divya and Shivam. So a couple of more questions that we have gotten from the audience is, can we leave any topic in particularly in quant? LRDI VRC anyways doesn't have any syllabus. So particularly in quant, is there anyone who left any topic?
I don't think, like, if anyone has, Utsav.
Why particularly Utsav?
I left a few topics. I am not like,
that's why.
Yeah, because like I know like 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 questions तो नहीं आएंगे ना एक topic से. So like cover as much as you can. I won't say you identify कि like ये तो topic I never, मैं कभी देखूंगा ही नहीं इसका question, मैं कभी करूंगा ही नहीं. But like I feel like if it's a reasonable number of small topics, you know कि like बहुत सारे questions नहीं आएंगे. Or like I know if there's one topic you don't know, there should be at least 5 topics you know about. right? It can't be like कि मुझे कोई भी topic नहीं आता तो मैं सारा ही छोड़ देता हूँ. Like it can't be that, and I didn't do that. But like yeah, if you don't know one topic, there should be 7-8 topics you know, and you're like okay, if I get any question from this, I'll be able to solve it in reasonable time and solve it correctly. So I did that, but others might disagree or agree. I don't know.
I left remainder theorems and circular motion in QA, but I didn't left that as it if a very simple question comes, I need to solve it. So at that level, I left it. Like more advanced, I don't used to solve it.
Okay. So particularly, you should be prepared to solve any easy question, or if any sitter comes from any topic, even if it's your weaker zone, you should be in a position to solve that question. You're targeting really good score. Okay. One, I think, major conflict that is always there in every aspirant's mind is attempt versus accuracy. Something that they need to plan even in mocks. Yeah, attempts बढ़ाऊं या फिर I focus on accuracy. Quant में तो ठीक है. Even I think in quant, because if you are trying to solve only 15 questions with say 80-90% of the accuracy, I don't think there is anyone who can say मैं CAT का paper 90% accuracy से solve करके आऊँगा, because that's a very subjective thing, right? You never can time accuracy. Same is the thing with attempt. So how, or like, what is your take on this?
Sir, I just one line, guys. So what is it exactly sense, right? I mean, what is attempt was accuracy? Even I used to feel that, but then I realized कि मैं जानबूझ के थोड़ा गलत करके आता पेपर, तो मैं accuracy जानबूझ के नहीं बढ़ा सकता. तो दोनों से एक ही हो सकता है. So
correct. But Shivam, I think the sense here that these students had was, see, if you are, this is a preconceived notion that okay, if you're sitting to write any mock paper, you have something in your mind that यार मेरे को बहुत जल्दी solve करना है. If I'm solving particularly say VRC, if I'm solving VRC, I believe everyone can solve 34 on 34, or like जितने भी questions आते हैं. Everyone can solve 100% of the questions, but then accuracy is the main thing. Like मैं passage को 2 बार पढूं या passage को 1 बार पढ़ के अपने attempts पढ़ाऊं. Particularly in VRC, LRDI में तो I don't think this even is applicable, because it's difficult to even crack a set. If you can crack a set, you will do it. But particularly in VRC, in quant, this question comes. Priyanshi, expert opinion.
Yeah, so I was just thinking what. So basically, I think accuracy, it just improves with time. So I think you should be working on speed, because eventually you'll be giving 35 to 40 marks. Agar de rahe hota, so your accuracy will definitely improve with the time. And I think one-time reading is enough. You just need to be present, fully concentrated, or uske alawa, there's just no need for second reading at all. So even in LRDI QA, I think speed is very much important, because there are a lot of people who can solve 100% of the paper, or actually 20 karte bhi actual paper, and their accuracy is also very commendable. So I think you should be working on the speed. You cannot consciously work on your accuracy. It will improve with time. Speed also, you should be working on it gradually, not like next mock mein pura karna hai, and just increase 1 or 2 questions in the next mock, and then again 1 or 2, eventually it will increase.
Yeah, just to add on to what Priyanshi said actually a very, very important point, which said you need to read the passage once, and that should be enough. You just shouldn't lose your concentration, and that's a very important part of the VRC testing strategy. You need to be present while reading the passage once, and once should be more than enough to answer the question if you are present.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Shivam. So I think, Priyanshi, you were trying to mention that gradually we should try to increase our speed. But how do I increase my speed? Like increasing a speed, that's a natural phenomenon that will happen once your level or once your preparation will increase, right? You'll be able to solve more questions because your time taken per question will reduce. Or is there something to do with sort of with respect to the mock strategy? For example, in quant, earlier I used to just start with question number 1, solve it, question number 2, solve it, and so on and so forth. Or should I divide it into round-wise approaches? Like in round 1, I'll only solve questions from my comfort zone, or I'll just see question for 10 seconds. If I can solve it in 30 seconds, I'll solve it, else I'll move it to round 2. Anything with respect to this which can help increase the speed?
Yeah, so I remember when I first connected with you, to how should I go about analyzing my mock. And I remember what I was doing was I was spending 4 or 5 minutes on one question, and I was, that's why my speed was very slow. So I think round-wise approach is the best approach. You should maybe 2 rounds, at least keep it for 2 rounds. So once you should go over all the easy questions, or maybe medium ones as well, but leave the difficult ones for the later or the second round. That's the one. And also, let's say, for example, you're solving a question of time and work. So initially, kya hota hai, your speed is very slow. You are writing every step which comes in between. So eventually, when you practice enough, you know what to write, directly. There's just one step, and that's it. That's it. So practice ke saath bhi, there are so many ways to solve one question in QA. Everyone can solve. Agar time milega, so everyone can solve every question. It's just an aptitude test. But the problem is you don't have that much of time. So there are various ways you have to explore. So you have to connect with other people. There are so many ways to solve one question. So you have to find the easiest one and wahi apply karte raho.
Anyone else wants to add on?
Yeah, I think the round-wise approach is correct actually. Like I also used to do that. जो easy लगता था, like I would solve and then again come back and resolve the medium to difficult level questions that used to be there. And for VARC, I think if you read with full concentration, there will be some questions जो कि बिना देखे you can just get the correct options. For some questions, I feel maybe you have to come back to the passage. So that's a difficulty I used to face, and I think we should not underestimate VA. I underestimated it, and I had a bit difficulty in the actual CAT paper. So VA भी करना है, उसका speed भी देखना है. Like you have to practice a lot there as well.
Okay, Saurabh, thank you. One last question which we got was, what are the common sources of LRDI? Like, it's very hard because they can't refer any book. For Quant and VRC, they still have n number of sources, but particularly for LRDI, one thing is, which I think I also tell them, is the past year mocks. Nothing better than the past year mocks. You start picking up time, IMS, CL, CRAC. You start solving them, time it, and start solving them. One is that. Is there anything else, or will that suffice for them?
There is a daily crack
think-
series. Sorry, Priyanshi, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the playlist which Shubham sir shared, I started with that and then moved on to the previous year papers. That's the best thing. And sections as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there is also like what Priyanshi said is like the base. You have to absolutely do it. But if you still want to do something more, there is something called daily target by Kraku or daily sets by Kraku, something like that. So it gives you 2 sets of LRDI, 2 VRC passages, and 5 or 6 QA questions that you can solve. But what Priyanshi said is the base. After that, you have time, you can go ahead.
Perfect, I think. We have pretty much covered everything that any aspirant would need in the next 6 months. If there is anything anyone wants to add, they can, or we can open the forum for Q&A now.
So one point, do not have any personal grudges towards any topic. Like I didn't like games and tournaments, and the question in the CAT was really easy on games and tournaments. So at the first I was not ready to solve it, but then when I read it, it was quite easy. So I wasted that time window for solving it. So it is very important you don't have grudges towards any topic.
Okay, nice one. Okay. Yes, students, I think batch students, now you can ask anything that you want to ask to them. Vishal, Gitanshu, you can maybe directly unmute, speak up. If you want to turn on the video, you can.
Yeah, please turn on the video. Hello.
Guys, this is your chance. Like, I don't think you are not sure if they'll be available for you subsequently. They will be joining a B-school very soon. So anything anyone else wants to ask about CAT, ZAT, GDPI, GK, any question that you keep on asking me, if you didn't get a response till now, this is the time.
So I have a question, sir.
Yeah, Vishal.
So should we be solving critical reasoning? Does it help in the longer run to score well in VARC?
I'll redirect this question to Priyanshi.
So basically, I solved critical reasoning, which was there in time modules, but apart from that, I didn't do anything for critical reasoning.
Okay.
I think it does not help much because you should be, focusing on what is actually coming. So that's actually enough.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But I think on the I felt that it helped me in VRC personally, like because it was just logic, right? So I felt that critical reasoning helped. You can like I used to solve like the GMAT critical reasoning part. I didn't attempt the time one, so I'm not sure how good is that. But I used to solve GMAT critical reasoning questions around, I think they were around 120, 130, and that was good for me. And I felt that it helped me solve question like critically.
Thank you. Manhattan one or the official guide?
The OG.
OG. Okay.
Okay. Great. Anyone else has any question? We'll be here for next 5 minutes, else we can wind it off. Okay. So at least from now onwards, I should see an increased participation in the. We still have 6 months to go, and I think 6 months is huge if you time it well. You can, even if you're starting now, you should be in a good situation after 6 months.
I have a question. How many questions should we be solving for 99 percentile in each and every section? And how did you manage that? Did you do it from the beginning of the mocks you were practicing, or how did you achieve that level?
So I did not get 99 percentile in more than 3 of the mocks actually. So I think 3 mocks only I got 99 percentile. And how many questions is over practicing, won't hurt. So if you think you're lacking in that section, you can practice as much as you can. So if you are, you have over practice, so it's not going to hurt. So as many questions as you can solve.
I
If
think
anyone
for
would like
mocks,
to add.
yeah, mocks में सब attempt करो यार, like जितने question है सब में एक ना एक answer मारो, because your aim shouldn't be to get some percentile in like 1,500 people. May getting a 99 percentile in mocks is not like, it's not a big thing. Like मतलब वो आ जाएगा, like, and that nobody would remember that. So mocks में I would say don't think about where would your final percentile be standing be, rather just try to see how many questions have you actually seen. Because if you go for a mock and if you feel like okay, if the magic number is 15 questions every section to get a 99 percentile on CAT. So if you go to a mock and attempting only 15 questions per section, so there's a high possibility that a lot of those questions which you have missed, you won't even see ever again. Even while analyzing, you won't pay any attention to them because you didn't sit to solve them when you were actually writing the mock. So I would say ki in mocks, treat it as like a timed practice, really, because there are so many mocks and you shouldn't be like, okay, 99 point something percentile in this mock means it doesn't mean anything, honestly. Like it's a good indication, but like you can be scoring very well in mocks, but maybe not on like the day of CAT. And as many people would say, maybe mocks wouldn't go very good, but CAT ke din kuch ek ho jata hai, koi chamatkar, and then you get marks. So don't think like mocks में what should be my strategy, सब जो आ रहा है सब attempt करो mocks में. That's something I would say. जितना attempt कर सकते हो.
Yes, I think Utsav said it right. If you if you set a target of 15 and you solve 15 questions, उसके बाद you will feel relaxed, and उसी time पे the other person would overtake you and solve 18 questions. So never fix a target, just solve as many as you could.
Okay, I asked this because I'm able to solve around 2 to 3 sets maximum in LRDI. So I'm not sure where that lies because it keeps varying each year, I guess. And I'm little weak in quants. So I'm not sure because I take a lot of time to solve. I'm practicing on that. So that is why I asked.
Okay. So summary, I think for this, I made a video that, see, in CAT, if you are able to solve 3 sets in LRDI, I think you are definitely scoring 99 plus or 99.5%. Right? But in mocks, whether solving 2 sets or 3 sets is good enough, that depends a lot on the level of the mock. I think in a few mocks, even solving 3 sets will give you 90 percentile, while in others, solving 3 might end up getting you 99.9 plus. So, see, at least as an aspirant, my approach should be I'll have 40 minutes, I'll have 6 sets or 5 sets in front of me. I'll try to attempt whatever I can basis my set selection strategy. If I attempt 2, I'll sort of analyze why did I only attempt 2, why did I not attempt 3? And the next time I'll try to overcome that. That okay, if I attempted 2, I probably chose a wrong set. Right? So you just have to beat yourself in every mock or in every practice that you do. Today, if you're solving 5 questions of quant in 60 minutes, tomorrow your target should be to solve 10, then 12, then 15. Rather than chasing a target that, okay, you're currently at 5 and you want to be at 20 or 25.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Great. Anyone else has anything? Daksh or Gitanshu or Shal?
I have one more question. Did you guys do anything for hobby building during this preparation phase? Because I think this is already a lot of time consuming.
Okay.
I mean, I did. I used to like exercise ketones mein, like gym वगैरह aside, I cycle a lot. I didn't develop a new hobby, if you're trying to say something like that. Like if like taking up a hobby just so that in like an interview or something you can talk about it. Like I didn't do that, but like it's important to like keep doing something on the side. Otherwise, otherwise you will get very frustrated with the entire process because it's a very steep learning curve when it comes to like CAT. I think it's not very intuitive, especially LRDI, because and like that preparation part might be frustrating. So like do whatever you think like relaxes you, because you shouldn't give more than the time needed for prep, as you shouldn't do with anything. Like keep it balanced is what I would say. Develop on your hobby, perhaps something you missed pehle, and like maybe due to school, as is the story with a lot of people, कि 10th तक books पढ़ते थे, 11th 12th में JEE आ गया, पढ़ाई आ गई तो books पढ़ना छोड़ दिया है. So maybe take up something like that, but yeah, take up some hobby you maybe don't follow anymore, pursue anymore, and yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone has any other question to ask? Anything about that or GDPI at this stage? Okay. If there is no question, we'll wrap up in next 2 minutes. I hope the session was useful and everyone is clear with what they need to do for the next 6 months now, right?
Yes, sir.
Great, Vishal. Okay, I think we can wrap this up. These guys have another session at 6 o'clock, I guess. So yeah, all the best. And thank you so much, Divya, Priyanshi, Kiran, Utsav, Shivam, Himang, and everyone else who joined. And see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best, everyone.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
the best to everyone.
Thank you.
Best of luck, guys.
Best of luck, everyone. Bye, guys.